So in this video, I'm going to be telling you why I decided to sell out on my crypto. I'm going to be walking you through my thought process and the reason for making this decision. Keep in mind that I am not telling you to go and sell out on your crypto. I'm just telling you what I decided to do. So I wanted to make this video yesterday, but I wanted us to have a weekly close first before, coming out to make this kind of announcement, so to speak. So in no way is this any form of financial advice or anything like that. But basically, I'm going to be showing you a couple of things in the charts that is going on in the markets that makes me a little bit more skeptical than usual. So if that's something that you're interested in, I want you to smash the like button, subscribe, share, and do all that nice stuff. So without wasting much time, because this is going to be quite a very detailed video, so I'm going to get straight to it. So I'm going to be starting this conversation by looking at the Bitcoin weekly time frame. This is Bitcoin on the 1 week time frame, and if you look very closely here, this trend line is something that we've maintained for a very long time, like I always like to say, and it has been very significant for this bull run. But if you look very closely, you see that throughout this bull run we've had a structure. Now besides this trend line, we've had internal trend lines. So look at this one here, all the way from 2022 December up until August, there was a trend, and then Bitcoin broke below it, continued the trend upwards. Then we developed another trend, as you can see. Then we broke below it, found a bottom, continued upwards. We developed another trend. We broke below it again and continued upwards, and then we developed another trend. But right now, it looks like we have broken below the trend again. Why this is very significant is that it could lead to a drop in Bitcoin. I'm talking about Bitcoin dropping to 100,000, because this is the next major support level for Bitcoin, and this is just about 13% drop, and this is just about a 13% drop, for Bitcoin to get to these levels. And if you look at things like these confluences here, like I always like to mention, we have this stochastic RSI forming a double top, and you see this double top is very similar to what we experienced at the peak of the last bull run. I remember that the first time I talked about Bitcoin topping out, it was when we printed this first head, and I was saying that even if Bitcoin should go back up, it's not going to last for too long. I said short-term bullish, but people were like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And Bitcoin has further gone to do, and ever since then up until now, it's just been about 2 months. Basically from June till now, it's just about 2 months, and Bitcoin is already looking like it's about to reverse again, and if that's the case, then we could be looking at much more serious drops. But I don't want to say we are going to break below this trend line, because this trend line is the most important thing. This one here, I don't want to say we are going to break below it, but if we eventually do break below it, then it's going to be very bad for prices, especially Bitcoin. But right now, as you can see, we do have a double top here, and just like I showed you, this double top was what led to the start of the bear market in 2021. And also, if we look at this MACD here, we're about to have a MACD cross as well, and the histograms here are suggesting same. Look at this. Each time we have the MACD cross, it leads to a very serious drop. As you can see here, this was the exact same thing that happened here when I called it top in February. The exact same thing happened here. As you can see, further downside, it's like clockwork. I'm telling you, it's happens the same time almost every single time, especially when you're looking at it from the bigger time frame. Now if we go to something like the 1 day time frame, you would see very clearly that on the 1 day time frame, we did establish some sort of rising wedge, so to speak. I didn't identify this actually until later yesterday. So on this chart here, I know it looks a bit clustered, but just focus on two main things. There is one liquidity up here, which was established all the way here from at 123,000 when Bitcoin goes 123,000. That was the first liquidity that was established, and we swept down below to form another base liquidity here. And for the fact that we did not break below this liquidity, one thing was for certain: this will be the one to sweep first. So the idea is that prices will go up, induce buyers into the market, and then drop. This is something that I was discussing with one of my mentees recently, and he was already at this point here. He was talking about shorting Bitcoin because we had this drop here, and I was like, no, it doesn't make sense to do that because we haven't taken out this high yet. But once we do that, we are going to have lots of buyers coming to the market at this point, and then prices are going to drop, because that's what the market does. But eventually that's exactly what happened. So if we look very closely here, you can see that we have clearly broken below this trend line here. So this means that we are likely going to drop here. We are likely going to go to 100,000 because this is the next area of support for Bitcoin. Now another thing that is likely is that we are going to establish support here as well, but this support level, in my opinion, is not going to be strong enough to hold Bitcoin because it's going to be forming something like an M formation, something like this. In which case this area here would be the base. Yeah, so currently in this M formation we are somewhere around here, and if we are coming all the way here, an M formation like this, a double top, is a reversal pattern, and if this is confirmed to be a reversal pattern, then it obviously means that this is not a support level that you want to be buying. Instead, what you want to do is wait for a reaction after prices get here. Let's say prices does like this, you want to wait for this reaction here, and when it gets exhausted, then you enter a short position rather than trying to buy here hoping to sweep these highs. So that's just something to pay attention to, sure. Furthermore, if we're looking at the 1-day oscillators, we do have some situations here. You can see very clearly here that the stochastic RSI here has already printed at the top here, and it's looking like it's probably going to continue dropping, which means further downside, at least to this support level here at 112. But I really don't think 112k is going to hold. I think it's probably going to continue downwards. That's my opinion anyway. And then over here as well on the histogram, you can see that we still have a lot more room to go down as we keep printing more red histogram after having this cross on the moving averages. These are the things to pay attention to. And then another thing that I was really paying attention to is this huge bearish engulfing that we printed on the 1-day time frame. This here was the indication that prices are likely going to keep dropping. Let me just get rid of all this. This here was the indication that prices are likely going to keep dropping because of this huge bearish engulfing, and something like this always usually leads to further downside. And I know that I made this post on my Instagram. I posted it on my story, and I said that if Bitcoin should keep closing like this after printing such a huge bearish engulfing, as a matter of fact, this bearish engulfing started from the 4 hour. Yeah, it started from here and it just continued printing like that, and it was a very, very clear indication that prices are probably going to keep dropping after printing something like this. So basically what I'm trying to say is that we need this support level to hold here, which is at 100,000. If 100,000 should hold, then we could be looking at a bigger double top, in my opinion, because if prices drop to this level here and then bounces up here, we could be forming a couple of things. We could either end up forming a head and shoulders pattern, something like this, whereby this place would then be acting as a new resistance level here. The previous support level will become new resistance. So we could have something like this play out, and this is a head and shoulders pattern, which is a bigger reversal pattern. A head and shoulders pattern will look like this. Now this is price projection, so it has not happened yet, but this is typically what a head and shoulders pattern looks like. And it is usually a reversal pattern in which here will be the base. Now if this is the base, how we calculate the target is by calculating the highest points in the pattern and putting it, you know, as a target. So this would be the targets for such a price move. And if we are looking at such a scenario here, and we'll be looking at something like 77k, you know, and this makes perfect sense because this is where there is a whole lot of support. This is the next line of support for Bitcoin over here. This is the next line of support for Bitcoin after breaking below this. So there is a whole lot of support here to hold for Bitcoin, and even if this fails, we still have one here at 48k, 53k. But I can't say prices are going to get there. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I would not be surprised to see prices get all the way here. But one of the reasons I'm not really leaning towards that is because this area here is BlackRock's entry. This area here, this is where BlackRock got into crypto, and you know that, into Bitcoin rather, and you know that BlackRock is a very, very significant industry, and they bought Bitcoin at this level, and Bitcoin has been up by 170%. That's a huge return on investment if you ask me. So if we eventually do end up printing this head and shoulders, then this is where we'll be looking at. So I'm not interested in buying any spots. If Bitcoin gets here, I'm not going to be buying any spots. Rather, I'll be trading it because it's a huge opportunity for Bitcoin, because something for trading. So a move like this here from this point here is 11%. So on leverage, this is about, you know, 110% on that move. So it's pretty significant, but the bigger move would be this one here. So this is what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Then if we go to altcoins like Ethereum is what I think is even going to have it worse as we speak, because Ethereum is you know, much more volatile than Bitcoin, obviously. So for Ethereum, yeah, we're looking at this. Just by looking at these charts on Ethereum, you can just tell that this is a very, very bad sign. Look at this here. We are about to have a cross on the MACD. If this cross happens, it is all over. And I don't think there's anything that can stop Ethereum from having this cross, in my opinion, because it's pretty close already, you know, and it's pretty high. We've already formed a double top here. So this means that we could have a very, very serious drop to the downside for Ethereum prices, and we would be sweeping all of these highs here. But it's possible that we could get a touch up on this point here, which is around 3.638 actually, and if that happens, then it's fine. But I think we are likely going to come and drop at this trend line here, in my opinion. And this, everything that I'm saying here, are things that I already mentioned in my group already. Even in my general Telegram group, this is something that I said, and we've actually been making lots and lots of trades over here on this group. But as you can see here, this was the post that I made more recently, like yesterday. I was like, I'm going to make a YouTube video tomorrow morning. I'm just waiting for the weekly candle print so I can bring you the latest information. Right now, I would like to say that I'm about 55% sure August will not end well for Bitcoin. I don't want to make this call too early because there are a couple of things that needs to happen first. When I get confirmation, that percentage is going to increase, and you know, like I just said in this video, you know, I'm 70% sure that, you know, August is going to keep dropping, that Bitcoin is going to keep dropping. So this was the first Ethereum trade that I took here, all the way from $4,000 and from $4,600, and my intention was to hold on to that trade. Actually, where is it? My intention was to hold on to that trade. Let me show you on the chart here. This was the trade here. If we go to something like the 4 hour, yes, this was the trade here, and my intention was to hold on to it, but then we did have a small rally here, which I ended up trading as well and making some profits as well. But if I had just held it, if I just held on to that trade, we would have been up by at least by 80% right now, or 70% on Ethereum in profits anyway. But it's not so bad, because we were able to secure about 50% in profit on that particular trade, or 40% thereabouts on that trade. But the vision is still really broad, because there's a lot of downside for prices, in my opinion. Now, it's not all bad news. Let me also talk about the saving grace, the potential saving grace for crypto in general, especially altcoins, because I know that most people are interested in altcoins. So let's go to something like the total 3 market cap. On the total 3 market cap, when you look at something like the trend line for this total 3, it's still all the way down here at 900 billion. So it's possible that altcoins could get a very serious bounce at this point and perhaps set new all-time highs. But the bad part about that is that if Bitcoin keeps dropping, then it's not going to be a good sign. Typically altcoins bleed a lot crazier than Bitcoin does. But I think altcoins getting to this point here could help prices move forward. But if for any reason this breaks below this trend line, then it's going to also be bad. But if we look at things like these oscillators, it's not such it's not such a good sign, especially this stochastic RSI that has already printed a double top as well again, and the MACD as well printing a bearish divergence. Now, if we look at something like the Bitcoin dominance, I know that I had been talking about Bitcoin dominance holding for a while, dropping for a while, because of the fact that we broke below this trend line. Yes, but right now I'm beginning to become a lot more skeptical about it, because taking a second look at this chart, you can see that we do have this place here is actually some sort of support area. Look at it, we found it as a support here, and it's actually a level. Yeah, it's a level, and it can be both resistance and a support. But it's for the fact that, so we had here support, resistance though, resistance here as well, and then resistance here as well. And right now we already broke below the level, coming back down. It makes sense for us to establish it as a support level as well. So it's possible that this is a fake out. It's possible. I will not rule it out, because of the fact that Bitcoin looks very bearish, in my opinion. So if this eventually turns out to be a fake out, then we could be looking at Bitcoin dominance going all the way back to 72%, and that's going to be really bad for altcoins. So this is not a very good video, I know, but it's the reality of things, and the market is not in a very good state, if you ask me. But it's crypto, anything can happen. But as for me, I've decided to stay out for now, and just see how things play out moving forward. Like I've been saying before, we are approaching the end of the cycle, and this is not necessarily the best time to be putting all your life savings into crypto. The best time to have gotten into crypto was 2022, right here, of which I made a lot of videos about, saying it, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. And now at this point here, a lot of people now want to buy Bitcoin, expecting it to go much higher. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Instead, we are going to drop all the way down, and then you have your buying opportunity, and then you continue moving upwards. But thinking that you can buy the top and just expect prices to keep going higher, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So that's all for today's video. I'll try to keep updating you guys on what is going on in the market. And if you want to see, if you want to stay up to date on what's going on here, you should be in my groups. Either you're in my private group or you're in my general group. I may not necessarily be able to make videos every single day, but on Telegram I'm very active, and I'm always updating there. So click the link in my bio or the description below, or just send me a DM on Instagram or anywhere, and you're going to get access. All right, so that's all for today. I will see you in the next one. Bye.